It was a dreary Tuesday afternoon. Rain fell in heavy sheets over the small town of Willow Creek, blurring the streets and making the air smell faintly of wet pavement and old leaves. Inside the little cafe at the corner, the warm light from the windows reflected on the polished wooden tables, giving the place a cozy glow that contrasted sharply with the gray and cold outside. An old man, hunched over and leaning heavily on his worn cane, shuffled through the door. His coat, faded and fraying at the edges, was soaked from the rain. His hair was thin and silver, and his eyes carried decades of stories, some joyful, many sorrowful. Clutched in one hand were a few crumpled coins, the last of his savings for the week. The man approached the counter, his hand trembling slightly as he brushed a raindrop off his sleeve. "Excuse me, could I, have a sandwich? Just a simple one, please," he said softly, almost apologetically. The young barista behind the counter glanced at him with a smirk, whispering something to a coworker. "We don't usually serve that to, well, people like you," she said, loud enough for him to hear. The old man's eyes widened slightly, confusion and hurt flashing across his lined face. He had expected a cafe to offer kindness, not ridicule. I just want a sandwich," he repeated, voice quivering. "I have the money." The barista rolled her eyes and, with exaggerated reluctance, made him a small, plain sandwich. She placed it on the counter with an obvious sigh of disdain, muttering, "There, happy now?" The old man nodded quietly, took the sandwich, and moved to a small corner table. He sat down slowly, trying not to show the sting of humiliation, but his hands shook as he unwrapped the sandwich. Other patrons had noticed the exchange. Some pretended not to see, while a few exchanged uneasy glances. As he ate, memories of his younger days drifted through his mind. He remembered serving in the war many decades ago, fighting for a country he loved. He remembered the friends he had lost, the battles that had scarred him in ways no one could see, and the long years of work he had done just to survive. He had always believed that people would respect a lifetime of struggle, that kindness would be a given, not a luxury. But now, at 89, all he wanted was a simple act of human decency, a sandwich and a friendly smile. And yet, he had been made to feel invisible, unworthy, and small. A young woman sitting nearby who had been quietly watching finally got up and approached him. "Sir, I just wanted to say that wasn't right. You deserve more respect than that," she said gently, placing a small cup of tea beside his sandwich. The old man looked up, eyes moist. "Thank you," he whispered. It was a small act of kindness, but in that moment it felt monumental. By the time he left the cafe, rain dripping from his coat, he felt a mix of sadness and resilience. He knew he couldn't control the cruelty in some people, but he also knew that there were still those who cared, who recognized humanity even in its smallest moments. As he walked down the wet street, cane tapping softly against the pavement, he made a quiet promise to himself. Never let humiliation define him. He had survived far worse, and he would continue to face the world with dignity, no matter how others treated him. That day, the old man's dignity had been challenged, but his spirit remained unbroken. And perhaps somewhere in the cafe others had learned a lesson too, that respect and kindness are never too much to offer, and that every person, no matter their age or circumstances, deserves both.